Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor here with an extra special, and what I anticipate to be a super fun bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast with just a wonderful woman who is not only a trainer for some of the world's most amazing athletes and the world's most beautiful celebrities, but she keeps it real. She keeps in touch with the streets and actually trains and serves and betters the lives of just about everyone and anyone. She does not discriminate. She is here to improve lives. Her name is Ashley Borden. You can find out more about her at ashleyborden.com. She's got all kinds of great resources there. She's a wonderful woman. A pleasure to have you on the show, Ashley.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Ashley, well, for the folks that aren't familiar with you, can we just go back in time a little bit? Let's talk about little Ashley and how you became the blossoming flower that you are today. Take us through your story.
Well, let's see. Little Ashley grew up in Chicago, and I grew up with very healthy, active parents. So my mom owned a health food store for 11 years, and my dad owned sporting goods stores. My dad was one of the first people that brought the triathlon to Chicago and started that back in the 80s. And my mom was a marathon runner. Now she's in weightlifting in incredible shape. So I grew up around fitness and health. So it wasn't something that I had to like force myself to get into. I was always around it, but I was actually a dancer growing up. So I thought I wanted to be like, I used to dance with Gus Giordano Dance Company in Chicago or in Evanston, Illinois. So I used to think that that's what I wanted to do. And I was always weightlifting also, even though I think back then I had no idea what I was doing, but I was still, kind of going to the gym and doing that. But the main kind of thread that was always through my life, even younger, was always helping people. And I found, even when I was in Chicago and training, when I was even in high school, I was helping a lot of people with strength and weight training and, dance. And I actually really had no idea that it was something that I could go into as a profession. It was just something that felt really natural to me. And when I moved to LA, because I have a lot of extended family that was out here, so I was like, you know what, I want to move out of Chicago. I had graduated high school. I did not go to college. So I was like, I am moving to LA. I want to work. I know exactly what I want to do. I want to work with people. And I started just, like I say, like prison style. I was like training, like I put like a feed bag on my mouth. I put horse blinders on, and I worked for 10 years straight, I swear, until I felt like all of a sudden after 10 years, I looked up and I was like, oh my God, how long have I been training? I just worked and worked and worked. And, I loved it. And it's always been something that's, when you're an educator, you always should be learning and actually learning and changing the way that you teach. Because obviously, as time goes on, things progress, or they through fitness, some things aren't the same as that what we were promoting maybe 10 years ago. So I'm always learning and growing with it. But that was really my turning point, was when I moved to LA and I saw how many people had such an unhealthy relationship with food and training. And just a quick side note, within that story there, which I didn't mention, I also had a really, really horrible eating disorder for many years when I was younger and through high school. So I went into treatment, a 12-step treatment center for anorexia, bulimia, compulsive overeating, compulsive exercise, everything. So I got into OA.org when I was 18. And then when I moved to LA, that's when I really had this like really kind of profound realization of what I really wanted to do. Was I really wanted to help people and work with people and have them find like that balance between, being conscious and into fitness and health and not being a psycho.
Hmm. Oh, well, that I think that is such a profound distinction there, Ashley, because I mean, you were so kind to share some really personal tidbits there, and I do appreciate that, and I know the listenership will as well. And I had somewhat of a similar moment when I was younger, I was very like neurotically into fitness and wanted to be potentially enter like a bodybuilding type arena. And you know the stress on males, and it can be, you know, you could keep training like this, or you could just take steroids and you'll be all right. And I tell you, actually, all right in quotations, I was just about as close as one could ever come to taking steroids, and I had this realization similar to kind of what you said, which is like, Jonathan, when you got started doing this, it was because you liked health.
Right.
And it was about health. And what you're doing now is actually horribly unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the opposite. So Ashley, how do we in our society do, because again, these exercise, eating, these are things we do for health. How do we avoid it flipping 180 degrees on us?
Here's what, you know, at this point in my life, I just turned 42, right? So I really feel now the relationship that I have to exercise, training, food, lifestyle is what I promote and explain to everybody else. Because the way that when you look at your body, anybody, right? First of all, just to compare yourself with anybody, the only two people that I say it's not a waste of time to compare your bodies is if you are an identical twin.
Yep.
If you're an identical twin, it's very fascinating to see, like, if you have different lifestyles, how your bodies change and how they're different. But other than people who have the exact same DNA, it is a complete waste of time to compare yourself to anybody. Complete waste of time. So I am all about people looking at their own bodies and assessing what's going on with them. And I have a show that's on Live Strong Woman, and it lives on YouTube. And you can actually see all my videos. They're on my website. They're on ashleyborden.com under the video section, but it also lives on Live Strong Woman on YouTube. And my series is called Perfect Form. And the whole concept is exactly what you're talking about. It's about your perfect form. It's about you or your listeners going, all right, what's going on with my body? My back is really tight. My legs are really tight. You know, a lot of times people don't equate tightness to aesthetics, right? Or they don't equate biomechanics, the way your body moves, to aesthetics. But it all has to do with that. So when you approach your body more about like fixing what's wrong, the side effect is that you end up looking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why functional training and working with people who understand biomechanics, they understand movement assessments. Those are the people that make significant structural changes to your body that are long lasting. You feel better, you're stronger, and you look better, you know? So that's kind of my way of approaching myself and with my clients and with anybody. That's, I think, a healthier mindset, as opposed to like, I just need to lose weight. I mean, to me, even the steroid thing, I mean, I was married for 5 minutes a long time ago, and the guy that I was married to was a huge steroid abuser, but I didn't know it, you know? So I grew up kind of around fitness, but I really didn't understand steroids, or even the opposite, like Winstrol or stuff that's like, what is steroid? But like things that get you cut. Mm-hmm. So I really encourage people that's why you can't compare yourself, because you have no idea what the other person's doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're on steroids, or they're on fat burners, or they're on, I mean, and let me tell you something. I'd say, you know, 90% of people are not telling you what's really going on.
Oh, absolutely.
and I don't understand why. I feel, I mean, I know because steroids are illegal, but I feel like I would rather people just be honest, so that gives other people hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really false hope to look at some of these guys or women that are in, you know, more like the hardcore magazines like Oxygen or stuff like that, you know, you're not going to look like that, you know, unless it's like your full-time 100% job and your life revolves around the way you look.
Oh, and you don't care about your health.
Exactly.
Like if your goal is to be healthy, I mean, and like, look, I mean, it's not as if there was some radical structural change in our DNA, but if you look at the most conspicuous example would be male professional bodybuilders. If you look at a male professional bodybuilder picture from the 40s, like just do a search on the internet, they look like a big high school athlete today.
Yes.
They're not 320-pound monsters. So, and like even fitness individuals in the 70s did not look like fitness individuals today. And it's not like those people weren't dedicated. It's because there may be some other things going on involving chemistry.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? Like, I'll tell you, the first time I ever met, I won't name names and be a jerk like that, but there's a really, 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 really famous fitness competitor that I met a million years ago. Again, I knew nothing about the fitness competitor world. I grew up, like I said, I was a dancer and I was just like lifting weights in the gym. I didn't know women did any of this. And I remember the first time I met her, I was like, how are you so lean? This girl was so muscular and lean that, I mean, it was like paper thin, right? Then I saw her off season and she was about, 25 pounds heavier. And then finally later I found out that, she does, Winstrol or this or that. And she's a competitor and she's not natural apparently, but I didn't know any of that. And I was exactly what you're saying. I used to look at that and just feel like a failure. Mm-hmm. I was like, I guess I suck because I naturally cannot get down to single digit body fat, which PS, you don't need to be a single digit body fat. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't get it, And so that was a big thing for me for years, is like dispelling the myth of what normal people, when I say normal people, and people who aren't in the fitness industry, who aren't as obsessed with figuring this out as I was like, what is going on? Like, why don't I look like that? And because I used to be way more hardcore than I am now. But I think, Jonathan, like what you're saying is true. It's like you need to decide how much time you want to invest in your body. I am really about efficiency and living like a lean, livable lifestyle.
I love that. The 3 L's. That's profound.
Not because people say, well, can I get down? I want to be 10% body fat. And I said, and here's my answer, is like, you absolutely could. You absolutely could as a female or whatever. But let me tell you, the amount of time and mental compartmentalizing that has to go into living that kind of lifestyle. So, you just have to decide how you want to fit it in. But I think the most important thing is that people's bodies feel good, they feel strong, and they feel healthy, like they have energy. It helps. I mean, all of those factors are super important to what feels like a healthy lifestyle.
One thing I wrote down prior to our interview, Ashley, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I always try to think of, when I have guests on the show, what's kind of a quick phrase I could use that I think may be a good representation of this individual and their philosophy. And what I wrote down for you, Ashley, you can tell me what you think about this, is empowering physical expression. And the reason I wrote that down is not only because I believe you demonstrate it, but even you touched on this earlier about people often don't think about some of these functional movements and just moving with your biomechanically correct ways as having anything to do with aesthetics. But if you actually look, like if you geek out for a second and talk about like what is perceived as youthful and what is perceived of as elderly, like flexibility and the ability to walk fluidly and posture actually has a dramatic, like you can wear all the cosmetics in the world, but if you're stiff and you can't really move, that makes you look old. Even if you're 13, it makes you look old. And so I think you represent that so well.
Oh, well, thank you. But that is, I always say, how you carry yourself, that's the first and foremost thing. Because like with my clients, I'll be like, great, you see me 3 hours a week. That's fantastic. What the hell is going on every hour outside of there? You're not seeing me on the 7 days. Yep. How are you standing? How are you picking up your kids? How are you? I mean, you're talking about functional stuff. For instance, I will purposely not pick up weights for my clients because I want to see how they pick them up. Mm-hmm. And I want to see how and there will be immediate, okay, stop. How did you just pick up those 20-pound dumbbells, with a rounded back, not even thinking about it? So those kind of things of your day-to-day life with your functional movements, carrying groceries, putting luggage in the overhead compartment that I just see women struggle with every single time I'm on the plane, which I just want to give them some dumbbells to start working overhead press. I mean, those kind of things, also, like you're saying, those are what make you feel old. Standing slouchy with your shoulders forward and your neck forward, I mean, not only is that just friggin' awful for your spine and your forward head carriage and the amount of stress on your traps and your back, but you look bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, when you stand up straight and, lift, like a good cue for people, because a lot of more women than men, but like when I say stand up straight to a woman, the first thing they do is they stand like a stripper. They stand with their boobs out and their butt out. They think that's standing up straight. And I'm like, well, okay, we're almost there. But the best cue for that is to feel like, stand with your feet about hip width apart and have your eyes straight forward so they're right on the horizon, and then lift up your heart to the sky. And then you want to Kegel, or you want to engage your pelvic floor. Like, I mean, my cue that I give is, I think, too graphic for your. But the cue I like to give is, stopping your pee flow, or like for guys, stopping your happy ending. I mean, that's engage the pelvic floor. But when you engage your pelvic floor and you stand up straight, that engages the lower half of your body, lengthens your waist, and that gives you a way more confident appearance, and then your body just looks. I mean, you lose like 5 pounds just standing up straight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it truly. I mean, it really is actually. I mean, and again, I'll bring it back to when guys don't do this correctly. I just think it's so conspicuous, right? Because we've seen guys that are quote unquote muscular. They walk around, they look like gorillas. I'm like, dude, no one looks like you're all hunched over. You're not looking good. Like, that's, if what you're doing is trying to look good, forget about what you're doing is healthy. Like, it doesn't look good. Like, you're not. It doesn't.
Exactly. And people ask me, so here's a good way to know if your body is a little bit out of alignment. If you just stand with your feet, underneath your hip bones, and you just stand up and you look in the mirror, and you're looking in the mirror, look at where your hands are. If your palms of your hands are facing directly into your side and your thumbs are straight forward down at your side, your shoulders are in a pretty good position. If you look in the mirror and your backs of your hands are facing the mirror as you're standing forward, you have what's called an internally rotated shoulders. Your shoulders are internally rotated, which I mean, that means that your chest is tight. It means that your lats are tight. It means that you're going to have a very hard time with anything overhead, So I really feel like, you're saying like these guys that look like huge gorillas. I mean, it's great that you look like an enormous gorilla, but can you do anything? You know what I mean? Can you like turn around? Can you rotate? Can you, and that's, you have no flexibility. I mean, and these bodybuilders from the 80s that I even see now, there's a guy that I train with that's a big trainer, used to be a huge bodybuilder way back when, and he's a pretty well-known trainer. This guy, Jonathan, can barely walk right. Mm-hmm. We're talking hip replacement surgery. He needs to have his shoulder replaced. He is the most effed up movement patterns I've ever seen. And it's interesting because he even trains his client almost as bad as he moves himself, because that's what he's used to doing. So if you don't practice what you preach, how are you going to teach anybody this? So, everything that I teach, I mean, truthfully, comes from my own wanting to heal myself and wanting to figure out what's wrong with my own biomechanics for my own body, and through my own discovery of, oh my gosh, as a dancer, and P.S., you think it's bad being a bodybuilder? Try being a friggin' dancer. Like, that is the worst biomechanics ever, because when are you turned out first position in any functional movement patterns? Never. So as a dancer, being very turned out with your feet and your hips does not set you up for strong athletic movement patterns, because I was not. I had a lot of body problems after I stopped dancing. So, a lot of the stuff that I do now, especially the myofascia work with the rollers, which all of your listeners can get my rolling out PDF that's free, that's super awesome, and full comprehensive guide on how to use the foam roller for your entire body. It's like having a masseuse living at your house for free.
I love it.
And that is the key.
It absolutely is, Ashley. And I think the thing that I love about that, not only the foam roller, but the other, just the biomechanic work that you do, is I've noticed in our culture that we tend, and it happens in phases, right? That like right now there's this emphasis on what I call extreme exercise, which again, if what we're doing is meant to enable long-term health and long-term wellness, I mean, some of the work you're doing, or even more stretching, I like to call it almost more cultivated or more sculpture-like fitness. Like fitness should be very intentional and very deliberate and very calculated. That doesn't mean athletics aren't fun, and it might not be fun to slam a tire through a window with a sledgehammer. Like that's fun, but if we could just take some of that energy, at least some of it, and direct it towards these more sustainable and more I mean, they're restorative, they're empowering forms of exercise. They're not these stress-inducing, injury-provoking exercises.
Well, I think your point, I totally understand your point, and I think it goes back to this. It goes back to this is why it's always been super hard for me to give very quick answers for magazines about a workout, because I have to know, who am I talking to? What are their body issues? What is this for? Are they an athlete? Like, I'll give you a really good example. So I last season worked with Nick Swisher when he was with the Yankees preseason, before he went back to the Yankees for his final year. And Nick came in very internally rotated with his shoulders, very tight back, kind of shut off chest. He had biomechanic issues, and just he just had some issues that we needed to work on. We had to work on the foundation of his movement patterns. And I asked him what he did the off season before, and he said, I was boxing. And I said, for your whole off season? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, why? I was just curious why. And he just said, well, he thought it would be good. It was like, it was a hard exercise for him. And, Nick is a incredible athlete and likes to be pushed. So point is that, I said, look, this is my humble opinion. I feel it's the last thing you need to be doing is boxing. It has nothing to do with you hitting a ball with a stick. You make an impact with your hand onto a heavy bag that does not move. Is just your joints are so valuable for your profession. It didn't make any sense to me. But his things that, we needed to work on were movements that, mimicked a lot of what he did in baseball, but also tried to keep him upright and anatomically correct, so everything wasn't all forward. It wasn't him just holding a bat and being forward with his shoulders and all that. You have to do everything on your posterior chain, working his mini band stuff with his hips and all that. And this guy, I worked with his other trainer, Ryan, and, completely changed his body aesthetically, but because we approached it biomechanically. But Nick or anybody else, is the same thing. It's like, so if you want to do, let's for instance, like CrossFit, right? I personally feel CrossFit is very specific to the instructor and the person. So is CrossFit for everybody? No, it's not. I know some people say it is. I personally, as somebody who has over 35,000 hours of training with clients, would say absolutely not. It is not for everybody. Is it a certain personality type that excels in it? Absolutely. Is it somebody who I should have a very, very good understanding of all the basic moves before they start class? Yes. Some places will do that. Other CrossFit boxes won't. It's like anything else. It's like when, Billy Blanks was around. Is kickboxing safe for everybody? No. You getting good instruction. If you are and you understand what you're doing, it's going to be better. If it's ballistic, like, Shaun T's Insanity, I mean, is that for everybody? No. But is it some people who may have great biomechanics who can do some crazy ballistic stuff and not injure themselves? I guess.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I use this analogy. I say, you could cut your hair with a chainsaw if you wanted to. I mean, it will cut your hair. You can do that. I don't know why you would want to cut your hair with a chainsaw, or similarly, like you could mow your grass with little scissors. Like there's all kinds of ways to do things. The question is it the most effective way to achieve the goal you want? And that's like if your client wanted to become a boxer, then boxing is a great choice if their goal was to become a boxer. But that wasn't his goal, right? But
that's what I mean. So like, this is why I say to everybody, whether you're an athlete or not athlete, you need to break down. First of all, you need to ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing? Because that has a lot to do with your success in whatever you're doing. If you hate with a passion riding bikes, then don't ride a friggin' bike. I don't care if all your friends are doing it and your best girlfriend just lost 15 pounds doing the, whatever cycling race or right. I mean, who cares? You need to first start with, what do you like to do? I mean, if you like dancing, then great. You know what? Zumba could be a great thing for you, but you also have to do strength training.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what's going to keep you upright and keep your bone density strong and, keep your joints and ligaments healthy and happy. So your main thing of what you do, I feel like, should be something that you love. If you absolutely despise yoga, okay, so this is what I would ask. Why do you despise it? Sometimes people hate certain things because their bodies don't allow them to do it. Their bodies don't actually allow them to do it, right? So, like, let's say you're super tight. You may really not enjoy yoga at first because it's actually kind of uncomfortable and painful, right? So, I would say, all right, so then what do you need to do? You need to back up. You need to roll out. You need to start with an easier class. And you need to actually pick things that you feel that you want to learn also. Because all of these things are learning. I mean, unless you happen to be a gifted athlete and you can jump into anything, you need to want to learn how to do them. If you want to do, if you wanted to do an on like Tony P90X, right? Let's say you really like to train at home. You need to really ask yourself, do you enjoy doing this? Do you want to, do you want to learn how to do these movements and take the time to do it? And if you don't, then don't do it. Then find something else you enjoy because you're just wasting your time. And I find that every, exercise especially has to do with feeling a sense of accomplishment and also investing your time to understanding what you're doing. For instance, I started doing jujitsu like 2.5 years ago, right? And I wanted to learn jujitsu. I love it. I've always loved it, but I wanted to learn it. Now, it totally did change my body like I've never seen in my life, right? I mean, it's incredible. It's very hard. A lot of my clients were like, well, I want to do it. And my answer to them is, let me just explain to you what's going on, how close what is going on in jiu-jitsu, and then how uncomfortable the learning curve is.
Mm-hmm.
Very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. So, and then some people would be like, oh, okay, what I really just want are the results. I really don't want to learn, which is fine. It's like I started Olympic lifting, a year ago, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I also wanted to learn it. I hired a coach. I practice. I have it's just like I wanted to learn it. So it's like with anybody, I would say if you want to learn something new, also, seek what's out there. See if you can find a friend and maybe you can hire a coach and you guys can split the cost to learn something new and then go do it on your own. I mean, those little investments that you do to learning things and then being able to branch off and do it on your own is sometimes the best money you'll ever spend,
Absolutely, Ashley. I mean, those are just being very conscious about what you're doing, being very clear on your goals, and also being true to yourself and making sure that it's something that's going to work for you. I think it's pretty hard to argue with any of those points. It is spot on, Ashley. Well, what's next for you? I mean, you've always got some cool stuff going on, and I heard rumors that you've got some retreats coming back up, and you've got even maybe a 21-day training system on the horizon.
Yes. Well, so funny you should mention that. I did retreats for many years on and off. And the last place I was doing it was at Pelican Hill in Newport Coast. And I am no longer doing them over there anymore because it just was not enough fitness for me. It was a little too wellnessy and a little too, I wanted something that was a lot more, you learn, you have great takeaway, that I could work with more people and bringing the price point down a little bit. So I am going to be doing retreats that are, the price point will be lower so I can have more people come. It is going to be in Southern California. We are just securing the location. So I'm going to have all of that information will be going out on my newsletter, which everybody can sign up for on ashleyborden.com. It's at the bottom of every page. And I do send them out and give everybody an update. And I'm also in the middle of putting together a 21-day program using the roller and body weight stuff and dumbbells for every body type and every body. So that is also going to be coming up as well. But I'm still, working. I still do a lot of seminars. So I work with other gyms or companies, and I'll go to offices and work with them on their break room and their food, and how can you make much more effective break time for your employees so you get more production. I mean, all of this stuff is all kind of the same information, but you need to put it into place where people need it the most. And, I find that if I can go in and work with people within their environment, that you can make a much quicker, better change, that has to do with their lifestyle. So the retreats, you learn a lot of stuff. Obviously with DVDs, I have all the free videos that I shot that are all living on my website that are from Livestrong that are, and I'm not saying it because I'm being obnoxious, but they're excellent. And if I don't mind saying so myself, they are, because it's like I'm training you.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, is that you're learning, you're learning from it. I also am, I have about 4, I'm going to be shooting 2 more of them, but I've done 2 shows on the doctors. It's on the talk show that's on ABC. Those are not airing. I don't know. Those are going to be coming up soon. And then I'm shooting 2 more next week, and then Access Hollywood. So I have a lot of TV stuff that I also shoot. But, even then, every single thing that I do, it's all like the same message. It's just packaged differently.
Yep.
I don't understand, like, the trainers where that they'll work with celebrities and they'll get like a different program. And then when I'm training, when they're training like real people, they just get kind of like a half-assed program. It's not how it works with me. Everybody has the same. Everyone's treated the same. I try to explain and teach everything to everybody so everyone can learn, because that's the most important thing, is that you have the tools to heal yourself. You have the knowledge to strengthen. And then you also have the knowledge to put all that together and, help you, help your kids, help your family. Because when you do it all together, your success is, 100% more achievable than when you're just trying to struggle and do something on your own.
Ashley, I couldn't have said it any better. And that is, I really can't think of a better way to close the show. So, folks, if you haven't checked out AshleyBorden.com, please do. Obviously, if you didn't know already, now you know. Quite a wonderful woman. Definitely an awesome resource to check out. And do check out those videos. I'll have to admit it, they are pretty awesome.
Hey, Jonathan.
Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, and everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. I know I did, and please do check out Ashley's work. It's fantastic. She's a wonderful example. She keeps it real, and she'll definitely put a smile on your face, as well as some pep in your step, and that's AshleyBorden.com. And remember, this week, eat more and exercise less, but do that smarter. Talk to you soon.